Good afternoon, everyone. Kimberly Lebbing here, MindShift Mentor for women entrepreneurs. And today I'm going to talk about 7 ways to quiet your inner critic. So do you struggle with negative self-talk? You know, that itty-bitty shitty committee that goes on up inside your head. I know this is something that I used to struggle with all the time. I'm definitely a work in progress, but have come a huge long way to where I used to be. So I want to share some of the tips that I have learned along the way with you today. As you know, I'm sure you know this, that your self-talk, your language to yourself, your inner language to yourself can make all the difference in your success, in your relationships, honestly, in your health, in everything. It affects all aspects of our being. If you're not aware of this, this would be your wake-up call. This is a huge understanding. I used to not understand this. I grew up with health problems. I grew up with, it went into, later into adulthood with, autoimmune disorders and all kinds of stuff. I had trouble with relationships. I had so many things, and it all stemmed back from the way I grew up. And the way I grew up was, honestly, I was a victim of a lot of verbal abuse in the home, and that outside factor ended up being internalized, and that negative talk stayed with me. It stayed with me through adulthood. So I want to give you a few tips today that you can use right away and to help you get on the road to a more positive mindset. So first is being aware, and I've kind of helped you a little bit with that already, but being aware. If you're not aware that you are in a negative mode of mind, that's a problem. So maybe take a little diagnosis of yourself over the next few days and just watch what you're saying. Pay attention to what you're saying and how you're talking to yourself. Would you talk the same way to a friend? Would you talk the same way to a little girl or a little boy if you're a guy talking? Would you talk that way to someone else? And pay attention to the words and the thoughts that are coming in your head. So that's number 1, because we cannot change if we are unaware. If we're not aware that there's a problem, then we're going to completely ignore it and keep going on with wherever we are. 2, that record that we keep playing, the one that keeps replaying the whatever event that you perceive was a negative. That you perceive as a negative, whatever that is. Stop playing the record. How do you do that? Sometimes you can't control that, right? Because, it just keeps playing over and over. You need what we call, in my training, something called a pattern interrupt. What that is simply is you need a change of scenery. You need to go for a walk, or you can just do something different. Do something different. Honestly, even changing your physiology and sitting up straight, looking up high. Go for a walk, do some meditation, turn on some music and dance. You need something to help interrupt the record that keeps playing over and over and over again. Number 3, and I kind of alluded to this in the last step, but what advice would you give to someone with this same thought pattern going on? What advice would you give to a friend? What advice would you give to that little girl? How would you speak to her? So bring yourself out of the situation, maybe look at it as if you're looking at a movie of a situation of yourself. And how would you talk to that person? What would you tell them? How would you advise them? And listen to your own advice. We have it all in us. Every single bit of us we have everything we need within us. Number 4, examine the evidence. Are you exaggerating? Do you use words like never, always, in whatever negative self-talk is going on? I always forget to do this. I never, whatever, fill in the blank. If this is the case, stop using those extreme words and exaggerating, because that's what you're doing. You're exaggerating. So stay away from those always, never words and replace them. This is number 5. Replace them with more accurate statements. So what I like to do is add a but. So if I'm struggling with a certain behavior that I used to do in the past, I also refer to it in the past, I will add a but. So I wasn't consistent with exercise today, but tomorrow I'm going to do better. So if you add the but on the end, it tells your brain to do something else. Okay, so number 6 is ask yourself what you would like to do instead. This is a big key in a lot of things. So if you're so focused on what the behavior that you don't want, that negativity, that negative self-talk, ask yourself, what do I want instead? What behavior do I want instead? And use that. Turn it around and use that. This is, I may have done this, but I want this instead. So it's literally changing the direction of your brain from this side over to this side and focusing on what you want rather than what you don't want. And the very last thing is accept and make a decision for improvement. We don't always perform perfectly in all that we do. Obviously, we're not perfect human beings. Even this live, as I go back and evaluate this video, I'm sure there are things that I won't be happy with. So it's always seeking to improvement. So accept what it is and then make a decision that you're going to do better. Make a decision or ask yourself, what did I learn from this? What can I improve? Instead of beating yourself up, because that doesn't do anybody any good, not you, not the people you serve, no one. So make a decision to improve and ask yourself, what did you learn? So that's my 7 tips. Tomorrow, I have a much longer video that I'm doing inside my group that you may find valuable. It's called Hack Your Emotions and Quantum Leap Your Life. And I'm going to give 9 strategies on doing this within that video. It's within my group. It's going to last about 30 minutes, just so you know time-wise, and I'm doing it tomorrow, 12 Central Standard Time. If that's something you would be interested in, I'm going to put a link in here to the group so that you can find the event that's within the group. And I hope to see you there. I'm very excited to be able to share all this information with my community. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.